They said I looked like I didn't belong, that I was too soft, too weak, too simple to even hold a gun, let alone fire one. The laughter echoed in the back of the gun range, bouncing off the cold concrete walls, seeping into my skin like poison. And I'll admit, for a moment it almost worked. My palms sweated, my stomach knotted, and I wondered if I'd made a mistake by even showing up. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly imagine, was that they were about to watch every single one of their smug assumptions shatter, one bullet at a time. It was supposed to be an ordinary Saturday, nothing extraordinary, nothing to write home about. I wasn't even sure I wanted to go out that day. My coworker Mike had been begging me for weeks to join him at the range, insisting it was fun, a stress reliever. I wasn't T unfamiliar with guns, I'd grown up around them, but it had been years since I touched one. My life now was quiet, office work, groceries, bills, sleep, repeat. I blended into the background, the kind of woman who slipped past people unnoticed. And honestly, that suited me just fine. But something about his persistence wore me down, and I finally agreed. When I walked in, the first thing I noticed was the smell: gunpowder, oil, and a faint metallic tang that clung to the air. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, giving the room a slightly sterile, almost intimidating feel. There were groups of men scattered throughout, most of them in clusters, talking loud, showing off, handling their rifles and pistols like props in a performance. And then there was me, plain, quiet, carrying myself without any flair. I might as well have been wearing a sign that said, "Easy target." It didn't take long for the whispers to start. "She's really gonna shoot?" One of them chuckled from a nearby lane, his voice deliberately raised so it carried. "Hope she doesn't trip on the trigger," another replied, earning a chorus of snickers. Their laughter hit me like cold water, sharp and biting. I felt the heat crawl up my neck, staining my cheeks. My instinct was to shrink, to hunch my shoulders and pretend I didn't hear. But every giggle, every side comment burrowed into me, stirring something old and raw. I'd heard those tones before, all my life. At school, when I was too quiet to fight back. At work, when my ideas were brushed off until someone louder repeated them. Even at home, when family members treated me like I'd never amount to much, like I was destined to blend into the wallpaper forever. I fiddled with the protective earmuffs, pretending to adjust them while trying to keep my composure. Mike gave me an encouraging nod, oblivious to the growing cruelty behind us. "Don't let them get to you," he murmured. Easy for him to say. They weren't laughing at him. By the time I stepped up to my lane, my nerves were buzzing like static electricity. My fingers trembled as I picked up the pistol. The weight was familiar, heavy, yet steady, like a memory slipping back into my grasp. My father's voice echoed faintly in my head. "Breathe slow. Focus. Don't fight the gun. Work with it." Behind me, the chorus of mockery continued. "Careful, sweetheart. You don't want to break a nail. She's probably never held anything scarier than a spatula." The men guffawed, elbowing each other, eyes fixed on me like I was the evening's entertainment. And something inside me snapped. Not in anger exactly. It wasn't hot and violent. It was cold, sharp, like ice settling in my veins. I was done being the joke. I was done letting other people write the story of who I was. They wanted a show? I'd give them one they'd never forget. I steadied my grip, slid into the stance my father had drilled into me years ago, and blocked everything else out. The laughter dulled, the fluorescent buzz faded, even my heartbeat quieted. All that existed was the target in front of me. I inhaled slowly, exhaled, squeezed, bang. The shot rang out, crisp and deafening. The paper target jolted. When the pulley dragged it back, the bullet hole was exactly in the center, cutting through the bullseye with surgical precision. Silence. For a beat, the only sound was the hum of the ventilation system. Then one of the men scoffed. "Beginner's luck." I didn't flinch, I didn't smile, I just reloaded and fired again. Bang! Another bullseye. Again. Bang! Bullseye. Again. Bang! Bullseye. My arms moved with muscle memory. My breathing synced with every shot. Each trigger pull was an act of defiance, every hole a message. I am not who you think I am. By the fifth round, their laughter was gone. The only sound from that corner of the range was the occasional shuffle of feet, the muttered curse of disbelief. I could feel their eyes on me, but now it wasn't mockery. It was shock, a reluctant respect edged with embarrassment. Inside me, something unfurled, like a flower opening to sunlight after years in the shade. My chest swelled, my shoulders straightened, and I finally looked back at them. Their faces were pale, mouths slightly open. The loudest of the bunch, the one who'd made the spatula joke, was red-faced, jaw tight. I smiled, not smug, just calm, almost sweet. Guess I'm not as simple as I look. The way their expressions twisted, it was priceless, like watching bullies realize the playground rules had changed. Mike's laughter broke the silence. Holy hell, remind me never to piss you off. His voice rang with pride, and for the first time that day, I let myself grin. But the best part wasn't their silence, or even the bullseyes. It was the feeling in my own chest that I had reclaimed a part of myself I'd buried long ago, the part that was steady, capable, unshakable, the part no one had the right to belittle. As the group slunk off, muttering excuses, I stood a little taller. Their taunts had backfired spectacularly, and I didn't need to shout or gloat. My actions spoke louder than any insult ever could. Sometimes revenge isn't loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as showing up, holding steady, and proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are far more than the world gives you credit for. And that day, every bullet I fired wasn't teed just into a paper target. It was straight through every limitation they'd tried to place on me, every box they'd forced me into. And I walked out of that range knowing I'd left them with something they never shake off. The memory of the simple woman who hit every bullseye. So, the next time someone laughs at you, the next time they decide who you are before you even open your mouth, remember this. Silence them with undeniable proof. Don't argue, don't plead, show them, and watch how quickly their laughter dies. Because underestimation is fuel. And when you channel it right, it's explosive.